Welcome in.
Carmen.
It's Reclaim Your Vote.
I love this song a
And
lot.
can you hear me?
How's
Yes,
everybody doing?
here, Jay, that you
I'm
I
at the
can hear
beach.
you fine.
It's my little brother's 21st birthday.
Okay, cool. Just mute, and then whenever we come on, we'll cue you in.
Okay.
I deeply enjoyed that song.
Should
Thank
I
you so
stop the
much.
video?
You can leave your video on. It's whatever you'd like. But we're just
Okay.
asking for everybody to mute for now. Welcome in. We're seeing lots of people. We're so excited.
This is great.
This is very great.
Thanks for showing everybody. Got 24 folks here, more coming.
Awesome.
We had a line outside, so we're feeling good. Put this together pretty quickly, so we're just so happy that you all are here and spending your Wednesday evening with us to better our lives, because shit is fucked up. Excuse my French, okay? But it is, and that's why we're here. But yeah, I guess we'll wait a little bit longer so we can have everybody come in.
Great.
Do you see anybody else, Ross? I don't know, what do you see on your end?
Oh, I can see people as they come in. I'm admitting folks as they arrive. So yeah, it's just folks arrive. Just go ahead and mute yourself, just so we don't have any background noise or kids or dogs or whatnot, that sort of stuff. This is so great. Thanks everybody for showing up. This is awesome. And we'll get started here in just a second.
Yes. My name's Carmen. I could start there.
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Well, I'm Carmen, and then we've got Ross, and we've got Kyle. Say hello.
Hey, guys.
Thank you guys for coming. I'm so excited and a little nervous, but I think the fact that we're all gathered here together to sort of like get more up to date, more educated is so cool. Thank you. A little bit longer.
We just everyone just mute upon entry. That would be awesome. All right. Go for it, Carmen. Why don't we get going?
Yes, so welcome everyone to our very first virtual forum here with Reclaim Our Votes. We're so excited to be here and just to make the steps towards change. And, our overall goal here is just to help ourselves and each other learn about voting. That's it, nothing less, nothing more. We want to feel more confident going into these, going in and voting and seeing the names on the ballots and not just guessing. Like, that's not enough. And I can't believe that we've lived our adult life and we've been taught to not seek out information. And it's almost been like a niche, market, I would say, because the average person just doesn't know these things. And I know I do not feel good about that. And everybody I have conversations with about it doesn't feel good about it. And so that's really why we're here. I actually reached out to Ross, who is a friend of mine, and amidst the craziness and the uprisings that have happened globally, just being on my phone and seeing it, and then being outside at the marches and the protests, it just wasn't enough for me. And I know that I wasn't the only one that felt that way. And I reached out to Ross because he's the only person in my whole life that that I know, that I'm aware, that knows about politics and the government. I know that he's worked on different campaigns and he actually has a resume and a background to reflect it. So I reached out to him and was just like, bro, like, what do we do? Well, not even what do we do? Like, we have to do something. And that's just where the conversation started. And he's like, well, Kyle, who we actually all worked together at one point, had the same conversation with Ross as well. So we ended up coming together and creating just something that we can do that made sense. Well, I wouldn't say created, but I would say just created a plan of action, I'd say, and with the help of our two Black-owned, locally, our local organizations of Black Boys Recycle and Be an Ally, they have powered us and presented this space for us to be and to meet. I want to see if Chris was on. He is one of the founders of Black Boys Recycle. If you're on, you're welcome to unmute yourself. His organization has helped us come this far and has been powering us through this to get to this point, them along with Be an Ally. So I would like both of them, of the founders, to speak a little bit about their organization and what they do here in LA and how they came to be all together with Reclaim Our Vote. So Chris, you can take it away if you are ready.
Yes, can you hear me?
We got you, man.
Yeah.
Excellent. So first, I'd just like to thank everybody for joining the call, for being a part of this call, just being part of this movement right now. It's such an important time for us to like kind of take action and, you know, be in the front lines. And all the time, the front lines doesn't mean outside marching, doesn't mean front lines of you know what I mean, in the streets fighting and doing a lot. Sometimes front lines just means being the front lines, giving that knowledge out, and being the front lines is being the change. So with Black Boys Recycle, get into that. Just Black Boys Recycle is a lifestyle brand where we focus on repurposing the narrative of Black and brown people throughout the U.S. and across the world, and how we're viewed in different professions, whether that is cannabis, whether that is luxury home decor, whether that is zines, coffee table zines, whether that is non-for-profits, how you start to view Black and brown people. Black Boys Recycle is here to change that narrative and also repurpose certain things like our activation tomorrow, where we repurposing the trauma from a family that was harassed by their racist neighbors. So with all this being said, I think that how, just to bring it all together, how Reclaim Our Vote and Black Boys Recycle go hand in hand, just to draw the parallels, is that we want to vote. Everybody's talking about, you know, go out and vote, go out and, you know, do something. And a lot of times I spoke to 7 people today, just telling them about the call. They were so excited to hear about it, just because they say, you know, they did vote, but they didn't know who they were voting for. They didn't have any information. They really didn't know how to pertain to their community, none of that. And we kind of got to, like, again, just change narrative and stop saying, oh, you know, our people aren't out there voting. Our voices matter. Our voices count. It does, but it doesn't matter when you don't know who you're speaking to and what you're speaking about. So Reclaim Our Vote is a beautiful platform where we'll be giving out a lot of information to kind of best steer you in the right direction for yourself, whatever that may be, just depending on where your community is and what is lacking there. And Black Boys Recycle is a help along the way, each step of the way, with Reclaim Our Vote in all the activations and demonstrations that we will be putting on. And to start with this Zoom call right here. So again, I thank everyone for being a part of this. I hope, you know, you walk away with some new information and just some new insight on voting in general and just on politics in general. I'm not the expert, but we have people like Ross on the line. We have Carmen here, has been an amazing liaison for everyone. Yeah, so ask away, you know what I'm saying? But we are here, and like I said, Black Boys Recycle will be here from today on and moving forward. Every year you can look for, during election time, you can definitely look for Reclaim Our Vote to have a lot of information on all of the candidates. You know, I hope that was good. I know I said a lot just now.
No, it was perfect. And, you know, again, you guys, this is like our first virtual meeting here. And it's just like a great meeting of the mind. So it's a lot of powerful and awesome things that are happening on this call right now. And just to give you like it's at Black Boys Recycle. That's the handle. So please, you guys follow. There's an activation actually tomorrow in Beverly Glen for, they're doing a lemonade stand for Black families getting harassed by their white neighbors. So follow at Black Boys Recycle on Instagram. And before I hand it over to Pierre-J, I do want to make a note that we're all here at the same level of knowledge. Like, to me, Ross was the only person I could think of who actually could tell me what was going on as far as political or government associated things. Other than that, like, we are all here on the same level. So I just want you guys to know that we're all learning together. We're all here to discuss and to, you know, go back and forth as far as, you know, ideas or information. Like, we don't claim to know everything. We just want to create a platform to share information and to share ideas. And so I'm gonna go ahead and pass the mic over to Pierre-J. She is the founder of Be an Ally. It's at Be an Ally _ on Instagram, and she will be able to tell you a little bit about who she is and what she does.
Hello, everybody. My name is Pierre-J. Lyon. I am the co-founder of Be an Ally. So basically what Be an Ally is, we are a directory of resources for those that want to intentionally contribute to the Black collective in the fight for equality. So when you think of like, well, how do I contribute to the fight? Just similar to what Chris said, like, we all want to be a part of this like overturning of systems, but we don't want to be on the front lines. So my thought process behind this whole project was, how can we participate in the fight without being on the front lines? And in doing so, I just gathered like hella data from different people saying like, well, what are ways that you wish you can contribute? So with some, they decided that they wanted to give money to like various social justice funds or like bailout funds. So on our page, we have a place where you can find local bailout funds or social justice organizations in your neighborhood based on like region. So if you live in New York and you look in the Northeast region, then you'll be able to donate to funds in your area. Also with Be an Ally, we also offer a place where you can ask for pro bono services via lawyers. And we also found that with people being on the front lines, like I went to a protest, I got tear gassed, it was pretty traumatic. And I'm just like, well, when looking for a service, like knowing that after you suffer a trauma, you need to get counseling. So I thought that putting mental health resources on the site would be beneficial, because for those that are on the front line, they also need that resource. But searching like Instagram or Psychology Today is complicated. So just bringing those resources in one direct spot, making it easier for people that want to participate in the fight. Like, this is how you get your foot in. You visit our website, and then based on these options, which is funding, resources, or services, or voices. So voices is basically a place where you can either sign a petition, you can, you know, if you seek to begin your own local activist group, we have safety protest packs there, located there. And we also have, we have a weekly conversation starter called Courageous Conversations. And with Courageous Conversations, it's basically for those who want to speak up about racism, but really don't know how to begin the conversation. And we understand that this is like a new day where people are just opening up their eyes to the injustices that are occurring. So Courageous Conversation gives you the correct verbiage without offending someone. So with all of those pieces, we have a tab that is filled, but not yet open yet, called Vote. And when fighting the fight for injustice, we know that we can yell out in the streets, but real change happens in the White House. So how do we affect that change? We have to vote for the local, like we have to vote during local elections, because during local elections is when you pick your mayor, who in turns picks your sheriff. So just having an understanding of how that all plays into the bigger picture with Be an Ally, and then how it plays into the Black collective is important, because having a space where you can come to, one, give back to your community, but also learn who is fighting or saying that they will be a part of the community is important. So partnering with Reclaim Your Vote is a big thing for Be an Ally, because we think that it's important that our community gets the same knowledge as far as who will be voted in local elections. So just being able to provide simple, easy, digestible knowledge for the common person, so that they are aware of who they're voting in the office and what should be happening in their communities. So it's just easier for us to call it out. So thank you, Carmen, for inviting us. I wonder, is Kelly on the line? But if you have any questions, just reach out. Like she said, you can reach us at BEANALLY _ on Instagram. or you can just go to beanally.co online and you can visit the platform. If you have any feedback, just comment. So thank you for inviting me, and I'm ready to listen and ready to learn.
Yay! Thank you so much for that. And she brought up some amazing points. All of them were super on point. You know, we are focused, obviously, locally, you guys, because that's where we have failed to show up as a people, as a generation. We have just completely omitted that from our lives, and that is no longer an option. So we are here to talk about mostly local elections and who are these people that are running the world around us. And I also want to make a point before I give the mic to Ross, who's going to be giving us the lowdown on all of these things, is that, you guys, this is by design. There's not a coincidence that all of us are like, I don't know who's who's that, what this official does. Like, that's not a coincidence. This is all by design to keep us uninformed. They don't want us to know. They want to keep the same systems and business running as usual, and we can no longer afford to let that happen. So with that said, I'm going to introduce Ross, one of our board members of Reclaim Our Vote. He's gonna give us a little PowerPoint Prezi, break it down for us real quick, just so we can refresh our memory and give us some knowledge. So what's up, Ross?
Oh, thank you, Carmen. Thank you. First of all, like, one, I've never been a board member before, so that's awesome. So thanks for the appointment right there. Two, this is so incredible to see. I mean, we got 37 people in the chat. We put this out a couple days ago, so the fact that you all showed up is so great. So thank you all so much for being here, for wanting to educate yourselves. And thank you to Piaget and Chris for giving us those great presentations on Black Boys Recycle and Be an Ally. Thank you so much. So yeah, like Carmen said, I'm gonna kind of focus in on governmental structure from the presidency all the way down to our city government right here. I wanna say I see Arizona, I see Indianapolis, I see New York, I see Nashville. There's people from all over the country represented on this Zoom, which is incredible. My presentation is mostly focused on LA, but that does not mean that it does not apply to you. These structures are replicated everywhere. So once you kind of have a basic understanding for how it works from the top on down, you can really start to look into your city's governmental structure, see the similarities, and realize, okay, I'm gonna call this council member when this happens. I'm gonna call this county supervisor when that happens. So with that said, let me fumble around awkwardly while I get this PowerPoint up and running here.
I would also like to say that Ross works for Accelerated for America and is a political assistant to Mayor Garcetti here in Los Angeles.
I forgot to introduce myself.
He kind of knows what he's talking about. So just putting that out there for him.
All right. Yes. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I work for Accelerated for America. Some of my colleagues are on this chat right there. We work in economic development for disenfranchised communities, trying to bring community wealth in and then keep it there instead of just letting people that always have the money get that money and suck it out of the community. And then I also work in politics with Mayor Garcetti. So it's been a really awesome couple of years doing that. Okay. So like I said, let's start from the government. Let's talk from the top on down. Let's realize who these people are and how they play a role in your lives. There are some roles that we all know. We all know the president, unfortunately. We know what what goes on in the White House. We know about Congress. We know some of the people there. We know about the Supreme Court. We know some of the folks there. But do we know how they're kind of interwoven, what they have to do with each other, and how it affects you day to day? And then also how those same structures are replicated state by state, city by city in a very similar way from these kind of different branches of government. So quick 8th grade review, right? We've got our 3 branches of government. We've got the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judiciary. Traditionally, they're supposed to be very independent. They're not supposed to. You can't see it? No. I didn't share the screen? We can't see it. What a dink. All right.
You were just so captivating, Ross.
I'm so sorry, guys.
Your narration is good enough.
That's good. All right, we can see that now? Great. Cool. Cool. Let's try this again. It's the first time. All right. There we go. Okay, so governmental structure from the top down, like I said. We'll just go back to where I was with good old Mitch. Okay, so we've got our 8th grade review. We've got our 3 branches of government, right? The executive, the legislative, the judiciary, they're supposed to work independently of each other. They're supposed to be checks and balance systems on each other. Since the 90s, since Newt Gingrich, this guy who was in the House, and Bill Clinton, that's when our politics got really, really polarized, and we started gravitating to the far left and to the far right, and everyone kind of started working lockstep with each other. That is playing out really well right now with our Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell right there. Guess what? He is up for re-election this year. His nominee, our Democratic nominee, was just decided yesterday, Amy McGrath. Look into her. If you've got friends in Kentucky, tell them to look into her right now, because we can actually get this guy out of office this year. But more on that a little later. So let's focus in on the executive branch. We all know these folks. We know the president. He executes the laws in the country. He's the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military, nominates all of our federal judges, is the boss, right? And we got the vice president who helps him do all that, or her, 2024, you know, or her, both of them, her. But the president of the Senate is actually also the vice president. So that's a special role that the vice president has, is when there is a tie in the Senate, when they're voting on a bill and there's a tie. For example, we've had a lot of that with the ACA since 2016, the Affordable Care Act. If there's a tie, the president sends in the vice president to cast the tie-breaking vote, usually in lockstep with the party of the president. And then there's the presidential cabinet, and that's people like Secretary of State, that's the Attorney General, Secretary of Defense, Housing and Urban Development, Veterans Affairs, all these people that are running different executive offices of the presidency, the agencies and things like that. So that's all the executive branch there. And then I got a nice little picture of Obama's cabinet room right there and all of his cabinet secretaries. The legislative branch. So this is the US Congress, okay? There are two chambers of the US Congress. So you picture Capitol Hill with a giant dome on top. You've got, usually there's one big wing on the left and one big wing on the right. Those house our two chambers of Congress, an upper and a lower. The upper chamber is the US Senate. To me, it's a super antiquated system, an archaic system, that if we can abolish that sometime down the line when we're feeling a little bit more progressive, it would be great. Because no matter what state you're in, whether you're in California or Wyoming or Hawaii or New York, there are 2 senators per state, regardless of population. There's always going to be 100 senators. That's how it goes. And they have 6-year terms. And the reason that there are 6-year terms is to allow them to be a little bit more independent of the presidency. No presidential election is necessarily going to decide whether a senator comes or goes. If there's a president that's around for 1 year, for one term, 4 years, you know, there's going to be another 2 years of their Senate term, right? So they don't have to always abide by the presidency. It allows them a little leeway. At least that's what it's meant to do. And then the lower chamber is the House of Representatives. And that is supposed to be, by design, a representation of the American population. There's no set number of how many representatives there is. Right now, we're at 435 people, representatives and seats in Congress. And the way that's determined is by our US Census. Quick sidebar, it's 2020, we're doing another census. If you have not filled out your census yet, please fill out the census. We'll put a link in the chat so we can figure that out. Go fill it out. The reason it's so important is because we determine how many people are representing us based on the numbers that are reported in that census. So if LA, if we suck, we don't fill out that census, if we're like hundreds of thousands of people down, the districts that represent our area could be cut. We could get rid of people. We could go from 18 people that represent LA down to 15, 10, whatever. Depends on how many people. And this, like everything else in our country, has become a partisan issue. The conservatives, lots of anti-immigration folks that want to keep the immigrant community out, were threatening to put a citizenship question on the 2020 census that would basically say, are you a citizen, yes or no, to scare people who are undocumented into not filling that out. Luckily, that did not end up happening. There is no citizenship question on our 2020 census. If you're an undocumented person, if you have friends or family that are undocumented, they can fill out their census without fearing getting removed from our country. Because this is not to count citizens in our country. This is to count people in our country, to make sure that our states, our cities, and our country have the resources necessary to take care of everyone that is here. That was a long sidebar. But anyway, that's the House of Representatives, led by our fearless leader on the Democratic side, Nancy Pelosi. You might remember her from this moment. to hone in a little bit, show you how that works in California. We here have our two senators. There's a senior and a junior senator. Doesn't mean that one is necessarily older than the other. It just means the senior was elected before the junior. So our senior senator is Dianne Feinstein. She was elected in 1992. The first year of the woman, 2018, was kind of our second year of the woman. First year of the woman, she was elected with 4 other women to the Senate. Barbara Boxer was another California senator who was elected along with her, who actually retired in 2016 to make way for our junior senator, Kamala Harris. She actually has become a lot more popular than Dianne nationally. Many of you may know that she ran for president in 2020. An unsuccessful bid. She dropped out in December of last year, but she's remained in the spotlight. Some of my colleagues from Accelerator may disagree with me here, but she's very much a top contender, probably the front runner for the vice presidential nomination. We'll hopefully know in about a month who that person is, but she's definitely way up there. Some folks from the House of Representatives. There's 18 seats in LA County. 16 Democrats and 2 Republicans. Kevin McCarthy is the House. Okay, what is going on there? Kevin McCarthy is the House Minority Leader. Adam Schiff is the chair of the intelligence community. Maxine Waters, she is just a general badass. She's awesome. She says what she needs to say. And then Karen Bass, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, a very influential caucus in the House of Representatives. Those are all folks within our LA community. And for our LA folks, I've got the map of our districts here. I got all our representatives here, so you can kind of figure out where in the city you are. Another couple I want to point out, that big orange block at the top, that's the 25th district. We flipped that. I've been Republican for a long time. We flipped it in 2018. Katie Hill was elected. Unfortunately, depending on how you want to view things, she either resigned or was pushed out. And then in a special election last year, we lost that seat. Last month, rather, we lost that seat. Mike Garcia represents it now. So we have to get up there and volunteer, call folks, try and win that seat back in 2020. So if you're local to LA, look into Christy Smith. She's the Democratic nominee. Let's help her out. Let's help her win that seat in 2020. All right, so our last branch is federal government, the judicial branch. That obviously is the Supreme Court of the United States. To me, it's kind of become, the judicial branch has kind of become the Republicans' entire reason for existing. They live to put conservative justices on that court to keep our federal justice system very, very, very conservative. There's 9 justices on our Supreme Court. That is traditionally how it goes for now. Some of our Democratic leaders, some progressive leaders want to talk about changing that, maybe adding a justice or 2. The current court has 4 liberals, RBG being one of those, 4 conservatives, Brett Kavanaugh being one of those, and 1 swing vote. That's John Roberts, who's been in the news a lot the last couple weeks for a couple decisions that went the liberal way. And then there's our federal district courts. These are standard trial courts. These is where federal cases will go to get tried. Each district has a judge that's appointed by the president for a year term. And that's really what I want to hone in on here. All of these federal judges are for a lifetime term. So sorry. All these federal judges have a lifetime appointment. So it really makes every judge that these presidents appoint, it really, really makes a generational difference on how our criminal justice system, how our judicial system looks. And then there's the federal circuit courts, 12 circuit courts across the country. Each one has like 3 to 5 states that are grouped within that circuit. And then the largest one has 29 judges, and it kind of goes down from there. Trump last week confirmed his 200th federal judge. So that kind of puts in perspective how much power how influential that power is in the presidency. So if nothing else, if you do not care about anything else when it comes to voting, if the candidate doesn't excite you, realize the impact that the presidency can have, that the Senate confirming those nominations has, and go out and vote to make sure that the court system reflects our values. All right, and then to bring it back in a little bit, make it more specific to the state, we've got our California executive branch here. Very similar structure. Governor Gavin Newsom, he's the head of state. When I was looking through pictures, I just noticed that his hands are always super aggressive and very like toxically masculine. So I just gave you a little tableau right there. And then we've got our Vice President of California, Lieutenant Governor Elaine Canelakis. And then very similarly, we have the cabinet, right? So it's your Attorney General, Javier Becerra, who took over for Kamala Harris. Our Secretary of State, Alex Padilla, is rumored to probably be prepping for a run for mayor of Los Angeles following Garcetti's term. So that's our executive branch here. And then similarly, again, we have the legislature. So you're going to start to see very similar structures. The legislative body of California, similar to the federal body, is going to send bills to the governor to be signed into law, kind of modify, adjust, send edits regarding the budget, voting to uphold vetoes or override vetoes, things like that. And just like the federal branch, there's two chambers. We have a state Senate and a state assembly. Something I want to focus in on here, you can see on the slide, is the just sheer amount of power that Los Angeles County has in those numbers. We've got over a third of the state Senate districts, and we've got half of the assembly districts. So there's a lot of power concentrated in our city, in our county, and us knowing who those people are and knowing when to call them can have a huge impact on our state governmental structure. This is the one that I didn't even know these people existed until COVID. I didn't know that our county is one, you can see in this slide, the governing body of the largest local government in the country. So our county board of supervisors, of which there are 5, has so much power. They can override the mayor on most things. Every big COVID regulation that came down for Los Angeles came from the county board of supervisors. So when we reopened, that was the county. When we closed things down, that was the county. When in mid-May we found out we were going to be closed down till mid-July, which turned out to be true today, that was the county. So they are kind of, and you can see here, they are executive, they are legislative, they are quasi-judicial. They have a lot of power held within these 5 people in the county. And that includes Los Angeles, that includes the South Bay, that includes all the way over to Brea and like near Ventura. So like the whole thing. And there's so many millions of people that are in that one area, these 5 people control. And I'll tell you who those 5 people are right now. So these are 5 districts there. Hilda Solis, Mark Ridley Thomas, Sheila Kuhl, Janice Hahn, and Catherine Barger. You can kind of see the neighborhoods, the areas they represent. The districts are sometimes kind of outlined pretty weird. You can go in and Google the maps of those districts. You can find out who represents you. Give them a call, let them know that you know that they're there, because a lot of times I feel they can just do things because not many people are calling. So the county government, and this goes across the country, very important. The city government. All right, that is our good old mayor there in an episode of Blackish, because when you're the mayor of LA, you can do fun things like be on Tracy Ellis Ross's show, and you can floss. So I had to put that in. I had to. So Mayor Garcetti, he is the executive of the 2nd largest city in the country. This is something that a lot of people don't know. He is one of 88 mayors across LA County. So it's not that if you live in Culver City, Garcetti is not your mayor. If you live in Santa Monica, Garcetti is not your mayor. If you live in Beverly Hills, Garcetti is not your mayor. So he is kind of the face of the whole thing, but there are so many people that he works in tandem with. He was on city council before he became president. A couple of fun facts. He was a Rhodes Scholar. When he went to Oxford, first person he saw off the bus, first person he met that shook his hand was Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey. They're good buddies. He's also a classically trained concert pianist. So if you're ever on the 3rd floor of City Hall and you hear a piano, it's probably the mayor. And before he was the mayor, he played the mayor on TNT's The Closer, because he also is an actor. And then his legislative body, because he is kind of the head of the city, right? He's the executive of the city. His legislature, as it were, is the city council. We have a 15-person city council structure in Los Angeles. They submit ordinances to the mayor or city laws for approval by the mayor or for his veto. They adopt the mayoral budget, or as we've seen recently, choose to try and modify that. That's why we were a couple weeks ago calling the city council to try and get them to change, for the people's budget. I'm sure lots of people have heard about that. And these folks, this is what if you don't take away anything else from this, it's to remember that the city council exists. They have the most direct impact on what's going on your street, on your block, in your neighborhood. And if you have an issue, if you have a problem, if you are nervous about your apartment building or what's going on with your landlord, call them. My fiance and Gabby and I, during April of this year, right when lots of people were scared about eviction, about rent, our city council member, David Rue, District 4, actually, their office called each one of us to say that they had received complaints from our address that our landlord was pressuring residents to submit rent payments even though they could defer them. So literally out of nowhere, we got calls from David Rue's office saying, are you feeling threatened? Do you need advice? Do you need help? So these people are put here to help you. They want to help. They are your frontline warriors and they can help with anything. So give them a call because Leslie Knope would want you to. And if you haven't seen that episode, please go watch it. It's brilliant. So similarly, the Congress map, I want to put up the city council map there. Here is all of our council members right there. There's an asterisk next to Jose down in District 14 because he did just get arrested for corruption. So his name probably won't be there for much longer, but these other guys and ladies very much will be. Nuri Martinez, she's the city council president right now. Lots of cool folks on there. And again, they are there to help you out. So please, I will be sending this PowerPoint out, memorize who your city council member is and start calling them all the time. So I'm going to say it a lot. I say it all the time. I say it to my friends ad nauseum. Call your senators, call your representatives, call your council members. If you take nothing else away from this, it's that be an active citizen, be an active resident, and engage in the civic process because it really does make a difference. The ACA is here because people call their senators' offices all the time. And the app that I use that helps me out with that is called 5 Calls. It tracks your progress when you call them. It automatically, based on your address, links to who all of your representatives are, from Senate to governor to city council member to state assembly member. And it updates with scripts on various issues daily. So you can always know what are the things that are going to be voted on and the various positions on those issues. So you can make your voice heard very easily and very quickly. And with that, Carmen, I'll kick it back to you.
Cool. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
It was a lot of information.
It was.
But that's what happens when you don't pay attention in school. And now you're a young adult, an older adult, a full-fledged adult. And, you know, things are messed up and we got to figure out what to do. So, you know, that was just a little bit, a drop in the pool of information. So thank you, Ross, so much for putting that together. We are zooming through our hour. So I do want to go ahead and get into what Kyle has put together, another one of our board members, just specifically going into the structure of our government here in LA, our DA. There's been tons of things going on with Jackie Lacey. It's a very salacious topic right now. So I'm going to have Kyle explain her a bit and what's going on in the DA office and department.
Yes, and I am seeing a lot of in the chat. We will be getting everybody's emails and we can send you a recording of what we've done today with the PowerPoint because I couldn't take notes fast enough and I totally understand. I was like, I don't know any of this and I don't know if you can hear the planes flying over. They're watching us. Okay, I have to, hold for sound. My name's Kyle, and I'm the polar opposite of Ross. I don't know. So I'm going to stumble through this as best as possible. I'd like to start off with saying that I'd like to admit that I have voted in the past haphazardly, meaning I have either looked at a website for an endorsement, or I have voted for somebody because they're a woman, they're a Democrat, they're a person of color. And while that's probably a better tool to use when looking at a ballot, it's not doing anything for anybody. I wasn't helping anybody. So when we got together and started talking about this, I realized that I had to admit that I was wrong. I had to apologize. And then we had to create a plan and we had to act. And my friend Brandon sort of says that all the time: admit, apologize, plan, act. So I think that everybody who's on this Zoom is in the same boat. And I just want to say, I'm going to speak from my from my personal experience. So a lot of it's going to be like, I didn't know this. But yes, so the DA election, Ross was like, this is so important. And I was like, huh? Because I know it is. And I know that thanks to Black Lives Matter and that it's brought Jackie Lacey to our attention. But it's been going on for a really long time. And this in Los Angeles, and this can also be, like we said, taken out of context and looked at across the country, because what they're saying is this DA race in Los Angeles is going to be like a trickle effect. Like it's going to affect other races in other states because we have the most for-profit prisons in the universe, right? General statements from Kyle. Okay. So, yes. So, and I'm going to be, I don't have a fancy PowerPoint either. I'm really not showing up like I want to, but that's okay. I have papers and I have research. So Miriam Krinsky, who is a former federal prosecutor and executive director of Fair and Justice Prosecution, said there are a lot of eyes on this race, and for a good reason. LA hasn't embraced new thinking that other urban areas are trying to push forward. She described this race as really a test of where leaders will stand in Los Angeles. I didn't know that. I didn't realize how important the DA was. And so let's like break down what a DA is. So a DA's typical duties are reviewing police arrest reports. They decide whether to bring criminal charges against arrested people, prosecuting criminal cases in court. The DA also supervises, he's like the head of, or she's like the head of all the other like attorneys underneath them, which is something that I knew, but like I didn't know the intricacies of. The office of the DA employs roughly 1,000 deputy district attorneys and nearly 300 investigators and about 800 support personnel. A DA serves a 4-year term. And then after that 4-year term, you go up for re-election. And based on if you receive more than 50% of the vote, you're just automatically re-elected. So what happened this time was, so Lacey was up, right? And George Gascon, which how he's gotten through life without being compared to every Beauty and the Beast anything is beyond me. No one votes like Gascon. Okay. And Rachel Rossi, right? Okay, so Lacey got 48.71%. So she was like two point other numbers away from winning, right? And then Gascon got 28.2%. Rachel came in third with 23.09%. Here's another admittance. I voted for Jackie Lacey. I did. I thought that she was the best for the position, but that research was unfounded. I admit that. And that is why I kind of wanted to talk about this today, because I wanted to do my research and understand why I was wrong. And this is also something to say, to take away, that like, we're not imposing our beliefs on you guys, that this is something to, we're speaking on these topics to empower you to do your own research as well and to make your own vote, but also like vote right. Okay, so you serve a 4-year term, right? So she only missed getting reelected by 2%. And now we have George Gascon and Rachel Rossi who split the vote. So the vote that's coming up in November, which that's something else I didn't realize, is that the DA vote is during the like presidential vote in November. That's when that happens. So it's something good to remember. I thought it was a part of a primary or something. Okay, so and Lacey has been serving since 2012, right? So this would have been her 3rd term. Okay, we're moving. Okay, and also there's a really good website which we'll put on our magical document that is called meetyourda.com. It is awesome. It explains so much. It tells you if you're in a different city, who your DA is, and then it does all these questions that it's like how you would, it gives like a circumstance, and you can decide what you think would be right, and then it shows how that DA showed up in that manner, and you could be like, what? No. Or, hey, yes. It's very informative, and it tells you who your DA is, and it tells them the measures that they supported, that the people supported, and that they did not support, that the people supported. Really important. Okay. So Jackie Lacey, let's get into this, because I did not know enough. Once again, Kyle's confessions. So according to the Black Lives Matter website, which I think is an astounding resource for just about everything you can think of right now. So first of all, Lacey has fostered an environment where sexual harassment was normalized and protected. She refused to prosecute Ed Buck for preying upon, drugging, and killing Black gay men. We're going to go into that later, because I had no idea who Ed Buck was, and it's important to know. She pursues the death penalty exclusively against defendants of color. She fosters an environment inside the DA's office that enables sexual harassment. She relies on testimonies of corrupt law enforcement officers, and she initially refused to expunge marijuana convictions, which is really important to remember. We're going to talk a little bit later on about for-profit prisons. She also has criminalizes protests by ordering the harassment and arrest of protesters. Mind-blowing. Black Lives Matter has been protesting out in front of Jackie Lacey's house for 2 years. 2 years before anything has happened, for 2 years. So it runs deep. And to think that, I mean, I consider myself somebody who's informed, and I didn't know that. So I'm excited to learn. Okay, so let's talk about Ed Buck, shall we? Okay. So, one other thing. Okay. Jackie Lacey is also, Jackie Lacey is also, her current campaign is like largely funded by law enforcement unions. $2.2 million has been funneled into her campaign by law enforcement unions, because she, Jackie Lacey, she's managed more than 500,000 serious criminal cases. Of that staggering number, her office brought criminal charges against how many? Two law enforcement officials, twice, two. One hand I can use. That's insane to me. Okay, so Jackie Lacey and Ed Buck, which that name Ed Buck is just in itself hilarious. Okay, Ed Buck is this crazy like dude in West Hollywood who's super rich, and he is in the little pockets of a lot of different Democrats. And also something that we need to acknowledge is that Democrat, like the difference between like, you know, a good Democrat and a bad Democrat and everything like that. Also, my computer's gonna die. How unprofessional, Kyle. Hold on, guys. I have to move my salt lamp. Yes, she's so LA, people. I can't help it. I'm so very sorry. I swear I'm prepared. Okay, hold on. Pause on Buck.
Can you guys tell that Kyle is a professional stand-up comedian? Is that coming through at all by chance?
I swear, politics are not a joke. Okay. All right. Ed Buck, who is nuts and is going to get his own A&E series, I bet you. Okay. So he's like a Democratic donor living in West Hollywood, and he's super well connected to all these California politicians. So in July, cops were brought to the scene of Buck's home because Jamel Moore had died of a meth overdose in his home. There were signs of a struggle and foul play, but Buck was not arrested. In January of 2019, the cops were brought back to the scene of Buck's home because Timothy Dean had died of a meth overdose in his home. There were signs of a struggle and foul play. Buck not arrested. Then in September of 2019, the cops were brought back to this Buck's home because an unarmed man had almost died of what? A meth overdose in his home, and he was taken to the ER where he eventually recovered. All of this, Buck was never arrested. And October 2nd, He was arraigned on October 11th, but not for the murder or manslaughter, but for facilitating a drug distribution center from his home. No one did any investigating. So since his arrest, evidence has reported by several other incidents have come to light, making it clear that Buck has a pattern of picking Black men up from the street or through hookup apps and bringing them back to his home, where he would provide them with drugs. He would often mix up meth in the drugs and then inject them with meth intravenously into his victims, oftentimes while they were unconscious, and then sexually assault or rape them. Right? Fucking nuts. All of this evidence brought to Jackie Lacey, right? Lacey wrote off the witness testimonies, meaning like he was as hearsay, like it just unfounded. It wasn't until Buck was charged by the federal attorney's office that so basically Lacey's office tried to interview witnesses and like bring together an investigation. What? And then Lacey later admitted to at least one witness that she had never even opened his file and had the time to use his statements as evidence in an investigation, and therefore it had expired. Okay. All the while, Jamel's mother, Letitia Nixon, had created a petition to demand a proper investigation into Buck and her son's death. The petition had garnered over 30,000 signatures. When she arrived to Lacey's office to request a meeting, and had the petition present, Lacey sent 12 armed sheriff deputy and 3 deputy DAs to block Nixon and order her out. A meeting was flatly refused. So the proof is in the pudding, and also it makes me sick to my stomach that I perpetuated it because I didn't do my homework. And it's just like a blaring sort of like, I need to do better. And I need to do better because like, even the people like Rachel Rossi is actually like pretty freaking cool. George Gascon won the seat, but doing my research on Rachel Rossi, I wish kind of she had won. Not kind of, I do. But hindsight, I wish I would have been more informed to begin with. So it's all working our way back. Yes, Rossi is the stuff. I would also say Rossi is the shit. Okay, so George Gascon. Let's talk about him because that's who she is running against. Let's check time. We're gonna blaze through this. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about Gascon and tell you like about what he's done. So basically he was DA in San Francisco, right? And he's been DA. He took over for Kamala Harris. People are like, oh my God, he's so amazing. But there's also a couple of articles that have come out and like a lot of things that he has done in the past that what he claims he couldn't prosecute officers for a long time in San Francisco because of laws that were in place. And at that time, like his first 4 years in office, he was very similar or on par with Jackie Lacey. Like he's come around, and that's the thing is we have to hold him accountable because when he does win, which he will, we have to make sure that after those 4 years of service, we've molded him into the kind of representative that we want him to be. Okay, so the LA County Democrats endorsed George Gascon over Jackie Lacey. He's a former police officer. He removed convictions in marijuana cases going back to 1970, which is huge and major because we're literally filling prisons with people who are wrongfully convicted for like bogus drug charges left and right, especially Black people. He grew national attention for diverting more young adults up to the age of 25 away from prison. He is a Cuban immigrant. He's really big on immigration rights, which is like very good. I mean, there is a lot about him being a beat cop, so we're gonna like remember about his past. Remember. He is the first elected prosecutor in the nation to propose an end to money bail. Money bail is important. Let's talk about money bail really quick. Okay, so money bail is the money or property that a person charged with a crime must pay to be released from a jail pending trial. So cash, right? cash bail. So wealthy people charged with crimes are able to post bail to go home, while the average person is often unable to afford money, bonds, bails, and remains in jail until the case is resolved. Sandra Bland. Do we remember Sandra Bland, everybody? Sandra Bland was pulled over for not signaling correctly, right? She was put in jail for $500. She was in jail for 3 days and died because her family couldn't get the $500 together. So he wants to end cash bail. So we'll put up a how does money bail work? We have like a chart, so it'll break it down, because there's also a lot having to do with immigration money bail as well, which is fucking mind-blowing. It criminalizes immigrants merely for existing. Okay, so he also co-authored Proposition 47, which reclassifies nonviolent felonies to misdemeanors. This is important when we're thinking of for-profit prisons. A private prison is run by a corporation, right? So we have the most in the entire universe, remember? So these private prisons, they're run by a corporation. They feed off of money, and for every bed that they fill, they get $150. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to fill prisons. So felonies are the most serious crimes you can commit. And then misdemeanors usually involve some jail time, but much smaller. So it's like he's trying to take a lot of the felonies and turn them into misdemeanors. These are all really good things. There's a lot of like, oopsie, George, no, what? Because he did decline to prosecute any officers for fatal use of force in San Francisco for in 2017 and 2018. Coming around in 2019, he has tried, I guess, to start prosecuting or like put that into effect. So much more. But I want to let you guys, I want to be conscious of everybody's time. Also, do your homework on Rachel Rossi, just because he's somebody to watch. He wants to increase public safety, reward rehabilitation, seek restorative justice. She wants to end the revolving door of homelessness. She actually says, which this is something important, she wants to pursue law enforcement accountability. Like, that's something I couldn't get out of anything on the internet. That was like George Gascon. Great. Okay. That was like very frantic. Does that help?
Wow.
We need frantic. We need frantic. We need this kind of frantic.
It makes me so mad. I'm so hot.
Armpits.
We do our call to action.
No, you did amazing. We can do a call to action because we are running up to our hour time, and we want to allow people to go on with their evenings, but after we do our call to actions, if you all want to stay, we'd love to have an open discussion with you. I saw some awesome points in the chat. You guys were presenting a lot of dope ideas or just things that are worth discussing. So my colleagues here, we're all down to stay and host you all for a bit longer if you want to. I saw some really cool things going on, but before we close off our official segment of Reclaim Our Vote and open up to this discussion portion, we've all come up with some call to actions that we want to leave you all with, and one of which is to follow at Black Boys Recycle on Instagram and at BNally_ on Instagram. Those are our affiliates. Those are our people that are powering us to be here with you all. So we want to make sure that they're supported, and to, of course, spread the word about Reclaim Your Vote. Tell a friend. We don't know how often we're doing this. Maybe like every week, every other week, once a month. I don't know. You guys let us know in the chat what you want us to talk about for next time. When do you feel like this is a good time? Wednesday evenings at 7. Does this work for you? You guys let us know what you want, and we'll do our very best to accommodate that. So that's going to be my call to action, because there's a lot of things going on, and we can do a whole bunch of things with our time. And so Ross and Kyle, they have some more poignant, I would say, call to actions for everyone. Ross, did you want to go ahead and say yours before we bring it back to Kyle to open up the floor?
Yeah, so a couple I hit on during my presentation. They're really easy. One, it literally takes 5 minutes. It's online. It's so easy. It takes no time at all. Fill out your census, fill out your census, fill out your census. It is so vital that every single person in this country is counted and accounted for so that we have the representation needed to make sure our government represents our community. So please fill out your census. And then download 5 calls. If you're feeling hot and bothered and frantic, like all of us are, let the right people who can actually do something about it know. Give them a call every day. I called Kamala today. I called Adam Schiff today. I called Diane today. Let them know that Washington, D.C. should be a state, that Russia putting bounties on our troops is fucking not okay, and that we should have a federal investigation into what Trump knew when. So those, if you just need a vent to the people who can do something about it. So please call your representatives. And Kyle, take it away.
Okay. I always think if I have enough time to post, I have enough time to take some action, right? So Breonna Taylor, right? Attorney General of Kentucky, his name is Daniel Cameron. Everybody can do a short little email as soon as we get off of this call. His email is attorney.general@ag.ky.gov. And tell them to arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. The other thing I would love for you guys to do is to talk about the DA election with 10 of your friends and say, do you know who you're voting for? Because that election is going to be so close at 50% right now. Think about it that way. She's got half the votes. And he has half the votes. The other thing that my friend Miguel Pinzon.
Is it just me or is she breaking up?
Oh, am I breaking up?
It's you, Carmen.
Oh, it's you. Okay.
You're breaking up.
I am?
No, Kyle, you're good.
Okay. Okay. So the other thing is my friend Miguel Pinzon came up with, we started talking about this and he came up with this and I think it's a great idea. If you were to be out of Corona and you were to go out this week and you were to be with friends, you'd spend money on drinks, right? So take that money that you would be spending on a cocktail and let's donate it to one of these 2 Black trans organizations because 3 more trans women were killed. Mercy Mack, Brayla Stone, Tatiana Hall. In Texas, it is, they have had the most Black trans women killed out of any state in the last 5 years. This is a huge fucking problem. So the 2 organizations that I've chosen, you're more than welcome to donate to whichever one. There are tons. Is GLITS. That's GLITS, right? And what they do is they provide housing for Black trans people that are coming out of Rikers. GLITS. And then it's another acronym, TGIP. And what they do is for Black trans, gender variant and intersex, what they do is they provide housing for them inside and outside of prison. So it's both, it's like it helping the entire community. So I know they're both acronyms. I felt like those were easy things to grab onto. Take that $27 you'd spend on a cocktail in Los Angeles. Yes, it's that expensive, and give it to one of them.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And if you have to go, we totally understand, but please again, stay close to our Instagram. We'll give you guys updates that way. But I would like to, if you guys want to stay and hang out, we can get into some actual discussion and let you all have a chance to speak. I don't know if Katrina's still around. I saw her putting in some really cool points and just discussion points. But if anybody else would like to speak, please feel free to unmute yourself. Katrina, I see that you're here. I would like to pass the floor over to you if you would like, and just kind of discuss what you were bringing up in the chat, and then we can of course allow other people to chime in.
Yes, Katrina.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Hold on.
She wasn't ready.
We can see you. We can hear you.
Oh, cool. Okay. I literally just put my hand on top of my head to see if my head wrap was okay. No, the only thing I said in the chat that I did want to bring up, because I was just talking to a friend about it after the last protest I went to, And even in the same vein of everything we were talking about today, it was something that I never thought about in this context, and it blew my mind, was trying to move forward with police officers when they have charges brought against them, those going to a separate DA's office. Because like Kyle just said, homie was a beat cop forever. All those people don't go away. You're immediately put into a conflict of interest where all of the citizens that are at risk every day are put against you being fair between me and a dude you've known for half a decade. Like, I don't like those odds. So I was talking to a friend just about the idea of them having a totally separate DA's office that is not former cops, not people. This is the same thing. I'm from Florida, so I'm very close to, not like, oh my God, so close like I knew him, but the Ahmaud case, in terms of like, I know what it's like to have sheriffs be the same dude your entire life. I know what it's like to have everybody's daddy know who will never get in trouble, like who, like all of those things. That nepotism is so real. Even being in Hollywood, like we're comics, the same stuff happens. Like, you know a guy, you don't have to worry about something because your manager knows someone. Like, the same stuff happens with people that are like murdering and raping people every day. So I love the idea of just being able to have all of those crimes automatically be not, you know, they have a leg up on top of being able to go home in between interrogations and all of those other laws. But like, I just like the idea of starting in a place that has a more even playing field for even evidence to be viewed, and all of that, like all of like the DA's office being separate for officers. And I just really like that whole concept. So that was like the thing I said in the chat that people seem pretty amped on.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, and maybe we can try and like formulate how to write that out in a template or something so that people can email that in, like as an ask, as a demand. Once
I love that.
Kind of why I wish Rachel Rossi was our delegate, because she didn't come from the same background, obviously. But I think that's a really good idea, Katrina, and we can maybe get together and like formulate with your friend like what that might look like.
Yeah, and someone just said in the chat, like, how would we get this into legislation and demand? And someone said a change. It's like, yup, this is the chat. I guess we're figuring it out now because I have no idea, but I like it. So yeah, I mean, baby steps.
100%.
Starting on this Zoom, and we'll figure it out.
That's it right there. That's it right there. And that's what we're here to do, because we don't know. That's why we're here. We're together. It's a meeting of the minds. It's like we have to be educated, and we just take the steps that are in front of us. And God willing, we can have the change that we're looking for. But if we sit back and do nothing, we're no than anyone else. So, you know, but that's a great point, and I've written it down. And that's something that we can totally address for next time. You know what I mean? We want to be able to move from this point to go somewhere else. So just saying like something like that is like dope. Like, let's circle back. Let's see what we can do for that issue.
And right. Like and I said, they're banking on us not knowing. They're banking on us not knowing and not doing anything and getting distracted.
Or just thinking it's that abstract, because I'll like, just because I'm on camera now, it's like, I'll admit I'm a black woman that voted for Jackie Lacey because I was like, okay, it's a black lady. I don't know. I'm just high, living my life, trying to do what's best, like not necessarily doing, like you said, Kyle, I would do like a cheat sheet the night before where I wrote a bunch of stuff down on a Post-it of who was like the least evil and take that in with me. But I don't really know what I'm doing. So it's like, yo, I became radicalized in the past like 3 weeks. Like, this is a new person. I was not the kind of person that would be on this Zoom that would be doing all this kind of stuff. So it's like, whatever, I guess this is who I am this week. Now I wrote down separate DA's office, and I got to figure that out. So
Katrina, I think that's like such a good point, is that, you know, especially this is something that one of Kyle's friends said years ago that really, really resonated with me, was that when, you know, when Obama was in office, when our guy was in charge, right? Like it was Jesus take the wheel. I didn't know anybody. I didn't pay attention to anything. What he said went. It was totally fine. I didn't need to know names of anyone. And then when that went away, I was like, oh shit. Like, I never voted in a midterm before. And now I have to know every single human being that's in there, that's taking, that has the reins, so that I can make decisions and not let this happen again. So
Yeah.
I think you wake up when you wake up, and it's just, you gotta, you know, as soon as that happens, it's like a light bulb, and you just gotta kind of figure it out. And it's all you guys being here is that first step, and it's huge. And I think what you're saying is really cool. And what Carmen and what Kyle's saying is right. Like, this is where it happens, this is where it starts. That's really cool.
Yep, and I don't know who it was that said it for a second, but they're right. They're banking on us, like, going back. They're banking on us getting bored. Even the fact that we're all still inside. Like, I've told multiple people, like, thank God for COVID, because y'all would have been way too busy with Hot Girl Summer to fuck with us. Like, this whole thing has brought us all a new ability to learn and have the time. Like, I'd be at work in El Segundo. I wouldn't be able to be on Zoom commissioner calls they have during the week when I'm at work all the time. Like, we can't let it go back. This is who we are now. Like, it's on.
And this shit is the Wizard of Oz, man. Like, they know just as much, like, any of us could. This could be the city council. Like, the level of ability and the level of knowledge, this could be the city council. It'd be, like, the same, pretty much.
Sydney. Sydney's right. Hi, Sydney.
Also, Head Wraps Unite.
Guys, if you don't know Sydney, she's incredible. She's a good friend of mine. I've known her for years, and she will be becoming much more involved in facilitating discussions like we're having right now as we continue this journey. So I'm just so happy that she's here.
I will not always have my head wrap on, like, I promise.
Or do. You look great.
Come as you are, sis. Come as you are.
No, I feel like I'm bringing shame on my ancestors. They're like, you could have gotten
that
ready.
was such a good
very little
point.
to do today. Like, wow.
I'm probably the oldest one here. I'm a Gen X.
Oh no.
And I can.
No.
What? No, I can honestly say that you know, people in my generation, I gotta admit, is someone else talking? I'm sorry.
I think Carmen's internet is a little bit behind us, so it's like
you. Well, I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm a Gen Xer, and I can say for even a lot of friends of mine and actually family, we're looking at this whole situation, and I got to be honest with you, we are so discouraged, we are so tired, and I'm looking at you all to be the face in the future, moving forward to make change. Like, this has got to happen. Like, any way that I could support, I'm gonna do that. But I can honestly say that we are so tired. We're so tired.
Tony's right, because my mom does not believe in us. Like, I talk to my mom every day. She doesn't think young Black people vote. Like, she doesn't think that young Black people vote, but she is still old enough to, like, look at the news and look at them interview, like, one 40-year-old Black man that's like, yeah, man, I didn't vote, but, and that's it. Like, she doesn't believe in us. Like, I'm so excited to prove her wrong, because there are people that, like, they've seen too much of it. Like, we have to prove y'all wrong.
Exactly, and that's the thing. We have seen too much of it.
I get it.
I'm, you know, I feel like I'm passing this burden. I'm passing the baton to the people who have the strength and the knowledge and the wherewithal to go and front this for us. Like, honestly, like, I didn't get this far because I was by myself. My parents, her parents, we've all been going through this. Like, it's never stopped. It has never stopped. And just to know that you all are young and vibrant and you can get some things done, your voice is here. We really need you. And if I don't say nothing else, I'm gonna just tell you this. We gotta think about policies. Policy over character, okay? Because you ain't gonna like everybody. Don't everybody like us. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody's gonna look how we look. Not everybody's gonna talk how we talk. You know what? That's okay. It's policy over character. You vote for what's gonna get some shit done, okay? That's what you gotta think about. We have to move forth, and we have to be more critical thinkers.
yes.
I think,
Everybody's different. We have, this is the thing about us, and I can maybe speak for all of us. We have a heart to love people. This is why we're here right now in this moment, okay? We have a heart to love people. So that means we love different people. So not everybody's gonna look the same, but guess what? We can move forward, and these policies, they need to be changed.
We got to Trojan horse that shit.
You gotta do this. You gotta do this.
We're the Greeks.
We got to pay attention to character and policy too, because we have to realize too that like people, I don't know how the policies get drafted, but yes, the person that's in charge, they agree to the policy, but if we aren't paying attention to their character, they can very much be passing the buck on these policies. So it's important that like, just like how Kyle gave us that super like thorough review, we have to put out that information like to the masses. So on the site, what we'll do is when we get that explicit information that talks about the person's character, what they've done in the last 4 years, that unbiased information is what the community needs to know. Because by the time we are at the polls, if we haven't done research, which is just policy, we don't know that person's character. And that policy to us is it's words on a page. So we have to start passing out the information. It's time for the neighborhoods to get back gossiping, honestly.
Yeah, we have to read. Like, I'm online because, they've said this about us back in the day, and I can say, because I'm a Gen Xer, they say Black people don't read.
Yeah. Well, the good thing now about social media is that we don't have to read. We can get on calls and talk.
That too.
I really hope people go back to reading. I really do.
Yeah. How is, like, for me, a lot of times, words on a black and white page, it jumps out at me different. You know what I'm saying? It hits me different when I can see something and it's about comprehension. How are you comprehending what you're reading? And then we can get together and talk about it.
Well, and I think that's a really important point. And that's like, I think it's so important that be an ally. And also if there's any web designers in here who want to talk to us, we would love to create a landing site that's got comprehensive, like, knowledge that's put into layman's terms. Like, I need something that I can understand. I had to go through so much, send it to Ross. I had to look up, you know what I mean? I had to look up definitions left and right, break things down, and that's fine. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it so that it's easier for other people to read, so that we don't have to sift through the bullshit. Because when there's so much that has amassed, it's really hard. We get tired.
It's by design too. They fluff it.
Yeah, and so it's wonderful. Like, be an ally, great resource. We also want to be a resource. That's the other thing that Carmen had brought up early on in this, which I think is really important, is that everybody can be doing this. This is not just reclaim our vote. This is, there's not just one resource. We can be talking to friends. We can be hosting our own Zooms. In the meantime, we'll be doing it, but this doesn't end here. It isn't like, oh my God, we like figured out this brand and now no one can have it. It's like, no, everybody should have it. This is for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, like, if people that are not in LA want to start Reclaim Our Vote New York, Reclaim Our Vote Chicago, Reclaim Our Vote Bloomington, Indiana, whatever, like, please.
Florida. Please, Florida.
We need to reclaim all the votes.
It's our only shield. It's the only thing we have as citizens.
And I will say,
and that's what's beautiful.
Back to Tony's point about reading, I think it is important because I think it takes the bias out, because I think that in this shift, we've had a lot of people that are already kind of on our side or already kind of saw our point and kind of now understand how more important it is. And at this point, there are a lot of people that just straight up disagree with you. And they're reading a lot of their own information. And some people are seeking out exactly what they want to match what they already believe. So I've had a little bit of good leeway with people just showing them stuff, and then they'll kind of look on their own and come back to me and be like, oh my gosh, Katrina, I read about this case with this guy and that just seemed like it didn't make sense. But if I would have been like, this black boy was da-da-da, they would have thought that I'm coming off emotion because I care about this black child that died. But if you read it on a piece of paper and you're just, reading it, like she said, black and white, it's like, okay, well, I took all the emotion out of it and that still looks wild. Like, now I'm coming from somewhere that's more than just you thinking that I have a bunch of like internal biases in my heart about whatever.
Yeah.
Also, Ross, I hate to give you more work to do, but if anybody ever needs a voter guide, this man's for the past 2 years has been my number one. Like, the minute you get that ridiculous, nonsensical packet, I'm like, hey, I don't know, what, who, and what, and where, and he knows, like, off the top off his frickin' head top. And
No, I don't. It is not off the top. I'm in
Let me gas you. Let me gas you.
I'm in my cave like everybody else, being like, but no, I'm happy to do it.
Those are important because those are the things where it's like, fill in the bubble if you want to not let reform for police be able to do this. Yes, or no. You're like, I don't even know which one is for who, whatever. There's like 4 double negatives in here. So that's really important.
Yes or no or tomorrow.
But it's cool in the bottom too. Like, oh yeah, police reform. We're going to cut $4 billion from the school. And like,
and very bottom. You're so right. They bury the lead. It'll be a whole paragraph about a bunch of stuff, and it'll be like, just kidding, we want to give them all the money. You're like, wait a minute.
It's like the side effects in the pharmaceutical commercials.
Hold on, like Pierre J, like Kyle was just telling Carmen and I before we got on this Zoom that the sheriff of LA County, Alex Villanueva, was like, cool, you guys want to cut $150 million from the LAPD budget? That's great. We're going to cut it from the sexual assault investigation division.
That's what I tell people. Like, everyone is screaming defund the police, and while that sounds cool, we need to be moving to abolish the police, because abolishing the police allows us to build a new force that can have a law enforcement portion, but we can distribute the money based on how we see fit. But defunding the police, if we defund them by 10%, example, like what happened in New York, where the police department or whatever had 59 million and they defunded them 10%, they still have 5.9. So it's just like, defunding sounds cool, but when we don't really know how much money they're actually getting. So defunding actually does nothing.
Right.
I think we need to teach people what both words mean.
Defunding is like, okay, defund, but then how about we defund the precincts that are in the people of color areas? And then
they're not going to defund us. They're going to defund the other neighborhoods.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, defund the police, but guess what? Y'all ain't gonna have a police force in Watts or Compton, and y'all just asked out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it has to be across the board, and we're not sectioning off particular things within the department. It's like across the board to fund them, and then retrain the new people coming in.
Yeah, that's why we got to abolish, because retraining doesn't work. There's been so much science says that retraining doesn't work. Like,
well, I feel like we have both of those words got introduced to the general zeitgeist so quickly that it was kind of like a knee-jerk thing where you have a lot of young people that are on board regardless of whether they know exactly what it is or not, because they're just down to change some stuff and be like, yeah, not what this is, on board. And then you have a bunch of people from my state saying, oh, you want to defund the police? Well, who are you going to call when someone robbed your house? Which in my head, I was like, I wasn't going to call them anyway. But like that, you have these people that are throwing these words around. They don't really know what any of them even mean. So I feel like, because in my head, you said we don't need to defund the police. And I'm like, yeah, on board. And then you said abolish the police. And I was like, yo, who are you going to get on board for abolishing? Like, that sounds way more.
I also think the everybody, abolishing the police and arresting like abolish the police on one hand and then arrest and prosecute killer cops on the other is also like, there's a dichotomy there, unfortunately. Like,
and I'm not saying it's not valid. I'm just saying it's polarizing to people.
And that's so the extreme, people see it as extreme because they don't understand like the definition. So like abolishing the police does not mean that we're getting rid of a police function. It means that we are saying that law enforcement aren't allowed to be dispatched alone. So our new police force should include a social worker, someone who handles mental health cases. So it's just not a gun and a badge. So abolishing the police force as we know it is what we're trying to enter into thought, and not just saying we don't need policing, because our neighborhoods obviously need patrolling, but who patrols is what we abolish.
I appreciate
who's allowed to come in.
I appreciate adding state as well, specifically abolish the police state, because it is like that's what become versus I agree with you though. There's so much like general language that people have I just did a little Instagram song for Ross and other people about like the term BIPOC, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. But there's a whole lot of like new things that people are just And you know, liberals, we love that shit. We're like, yeah, like, let me put it on a sign, even though I'm not sure. End racism. I'm like, but you won't. Like, you, like, it's, I would love to talk about generality versus specificity and bandwagoning and all that shit.
Heck yeah, we can have language talk. I love this.
Yeah.
Can y'all bring now everybody that has an idea that y'all want to talk about? Can y'all bring it to be an ally so we can introduce it as the topic of the week?
Yes.
So let me know when you're ready to write, Sydney. Let me know when you want your week.
Already ready.
Let me know. Send it over. This is how we get the topics going.
Cross posting.
I
We're
wanna know
gonna
about-
have Reclaim Our Vote and be an ally, like a D-Nice DJ set, just in the chats. It's gonna be great.
Or a verse.
I can't wait.
I loved it. We do want to kind of get it wrapped up just so we have more ammo for next time. We're just so excited that everybody is like really on board and just really, you know, at this point we have no choice, okay? Because it is what it is. We have to do something and we have to talk about it and we have to have discussion and we have to hold space for each other to be able to move forward in intelligent, smart, and proactive ways. And that's all that we want to do here. We've all written some notes down that we absolutely will bring, you know, for their next session for Reclaim Our Vote. And I just want to say thank you to everybody again. We will hit you guys up with the next time that we're doing this. We don't have anything planned as of now, but with this response, I feel like soon. But Ross, Kyle, would you all like to say some things in closing?
Go for it, Kyle.
Well, I would like to say if emails, if anybody who was on this today wants to shoot us their emails to get the recording of this, or also to find out further, like I do a big email blast, Carmen does one, Ross does one, but even just to get us like on the list and get like a group, I think that that's really great. You can shoot it to us on Instagram. That might be the easiest. If not, do it here, do it wherever, we'll figure it out, we'll find you. That sounds weird. And thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me a space, and allowing Ross a space, and allowing Carmen a space, and for and to listen and to learn with us, because it takes a lot to admit that you're wrong and you fucked up, but it takes a lot more to take action afterwards. And I think that we've been super complacent, and I'm done, man. I'm done being complacent. I'm ready to take action.
It's on.
1000%. That's great. And I just I mean, it's been said and it'll be said again all the time, but thank you guys so much for showing up. I'm thrilled that you all stuck around for an extra half hour, and that this discussion was led by incredible Black women who all just like are sick of it. It's so incredible to see. And I'm so excited for what this becomes and what this turns into. Carmen and I, and Kyle and I, and Carmen and all three of us, and everyone here, we're going to get together to figure out when the next one's going to be ASAP. And I'm so excited to see what we can do, because this is going to be great. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
I suggest everybody do one protest while this COVID's going on. I suggest get out and do something one time. For the one time, because we out here. I need to go and yell somewhere. So
it changes your heart.
We out here.
Be careful though, LA County.
Yeah. Be careful as hell. We're gonna be good. Well, we'll connect with you all soon. Please be safe. Please be well. Take care of your mind, body, and spirit. We'll see you soon on Reclaim the Vote. And this is when our song comes in. And we're gonna have a whole production for y'all. A whole production. You're not ready.
Why am I rowing a boat?
Bye, guys.